Hello, everyone, and welcome to National Intern Week. I'm your host, as you know, Andy from Career TV, and today we are joined by the team at Zurich to discuss their intern opportunities. During this session, you will learn about the specific ins and outs of their internships and what it's like to be a part of the team at Zurich. And a welcome to the world of insurance, of course. Remember, this session will be recorded and will be up on our website within a week. It'll also be on our YouTube. Remember to like and subscribe. There will also be a Q&A at the end of the webinar, so feel free to leave any questions in the chat throughout the session and we will answer them at the very end. So without further ado, I'll pass on to the Zurich team to commence with their session.
Thanks, Andy. Welcome, everybody, and good afternoon. Thank you for joining us on the session today. We're super excited to be hosting during National Intern Week. It's really exciting for us, particularly as we are live and open for applications for 2024. So as Andy mentioned, there will be plenty of time for you to ask any questions, use the chat functionality if you would prefer. But we do have a bit of an agenda, some things we do want to go through during the session, but there will be plenty of opportunity for you to ask questions towards the end. So I am Laura, I am the Early Careers Advisor here at Zurich, and I'm joined by my colleague Paige, who I will be handing over to shortly. I will be starting off with a bit of an introduction to Zurich, who we are, what we do. Paige will then talk through our intern programs in a bit more detail, covering the opportunities that we have, some of the locations, all of that kind of stuff. And then we will be hearing from our current graduates who started their journey with us as interns, which is super exciting. We have a really positive conversion rate, which we will go on to in a bit more detail later. So we are joined by Tony, Saffron and Paula, who you'll all hear from later on. And throughout the session, you will see dotted on the pack is our QR code that takes you directly to our website. And if there are any questions that you think of after the session, then you have got there the Early Careers email address. Please feel free to pop any questions through to us, but also make sure you take a look at our website where you can find the in-depth detail of all of our opportunities that we've got for 2024. So I have briefly mentioned that it is myself and Paige on the call today. I'm kicking off with a bit of information about Zurich and the intern programs that we have. So if I start, first of all, by going through who we are. So who are Zurich? So we are a huge global company. So we've got around 56,000 employees worldwide. 4,500 of us sit here in the UK across multiple different locations. So depending on where you are, the chances are we've got an office not too far from you. Paige will talk us through some of those locations in a moment. So we provide insurance products and services to more than 215 countries and territories. At Zurich, our customers are at the heart of everything that we do. So our customers are our biggest passion, and everything that we do is putting the customer first, whether that be our internal customers or external customers. Our insurance products are very broad. They cover business, casualty, motor, property, travel, energy, life insurance, and pensions. So it's very broad, and you may not know too much about insurance, and that is absolutely fine. Lots of people don't when they start their career with us. Our main sort of motto is creating a brighter future for our customers, our people, on our planet. So we're, sustainability and diversity and inclusion are super important to us here at Zurich. And you will see that come through in lots of our activity, whether that be through our website or when you're speaking to any of our employees. And we do have a real vast range of early in careers opportunities at Zurich. So it's really important to remember that whilst we are an insurance company, we are all about busting the myth that that insurance is boring. There is so much more to it, particularly when it comes to early careers. The opportunities that we have are very broad. So at Zurich, we offer early career programs for graduates, some interns, which obviously is mainly why we're here today, and apprenticeship programs as well. So there really is something for everybody, regardless of kind of what you've studied, what you're interested in. There's usually something for everybody here at Zurich. So we love sort of promoting our opportunities. I am going to hand over to Paige to talk a little bit more about our intern programs in a bit more detail.
Thank you, Laura. Hello, everyone. So I'm Paige Gregory, and I am a people development consultant here at Zurich, and I lead the graduate and intern programs. So our intern program then is a 10-week summer placement over June, July, and August, and we offer our internships in actuarial, business, change management, business management, change and technology, finance, risk engineering, and sustainable engineering. As I said, it's a 10-week program, and it's designed to give you the experience and the knowledge of the insurance industry by completing real work within real teams, and you get a real responsibility, and it really gives you a taste of working for a global insurer and understanding a little bit about what insurance is. You will be in these teams where you'll get to work in a team environment, be it in the office or at home, because we work on a hybrid working model, and you really will add value to Zurich and to the team that you're in. There will be ample of opportunities for you to develop and strengthen your skills throughout your 10-week program with us as well. As part of the internship program, you will also complete a project as a cohort of interns, and these are sponsored by the business, and they will give you a real business issue that they'd like you to go away, investigate, research and tackle. And then towards the end of the 10-week program, you will complete a project presentation, and you'll present back your findings, the outcome, any recommendations you have for the project to the many different stakeholders within the business, back to the project sponsors at the end of the 10 weeks. So you get ample of opportunity within your internship through in the specific teams that you're in and as a wider intern cohort to really develop and hone in on some skills and get exposure to different people and different types of activities. Across the 10 weeks as well, we will also give you development sessions, and these include things such as CV and interview skill writing and interview techniques, as well as thinking about your personal branding and much more. And then throughout as well, you'll also get a graduate or a current graduate to be a buddy to you throughout the 10 weeks. So you've got another person to be a point of contact, to give you some hints, tips, and help you through your 10 weeks with us to make you feel really welcome. And there'll be other opportunities to get involved, such as getting involved with our employee resource groups and also our Zurich Community Trust. Across the UK then, we have many different locations. Some of the locations that you could be in could be Birmingham, Cardiff, Croydon, Fareham, Farnborough, Glasgow, London, Manchester and Swindon. So hopefully we may actually have an office that's close to you and there's something there for everyone. Some of the programmes will work in specific sites or across different sites and offices. And as Laura mentioned, we have a really good conversion rate from our intern programme into our graduate scheme. So last year, 82% of our summer interns were offered a place on the graduate scheme as you finish your degree the following year. So it's a really great opportunity if you join us on a summer internship to then have an opportunity to join a graduate programme the following year. So then you've got something lined up for when you finish your degree and know where you might be kickstarting your career and taking on your next opportunities. We do just have a short video to play you as well, just to hear about one of our current graduates who was previously an intern and why they wanted to come back and join us on a grad programme. So I will just start that in a moment and get that played.
I think that the support and the structure of a grad program really helps to kind of give you a good grounding for your career, because you're joining as part of a cohort, there's training in place, qualifications are part of it. You learn different skills as part of the graduate development program. You understand what kind of employee you are and how you enjoy working. So I think just the structure of a grad scheme really appealed to me. And I also actually did the Zurich internship, so it was already a company that I had experience with in that summer internship, and I knew I wanted to come back. So once they offered me the place in the graduate program, it was kind of a no-brainer to come back.
So hopefully that just gives you a bit more flavour of some of our programmes. And then I'm going to hand back over to Laura to talk to you more about our benefits of being on the programme.
Perfect. Thanks, Paige. So as Paige mentioned there, we are dotted across the UK. So there will likely be an office somewhere close to you. There is a huge amount of our interns that convert into graduates, which is really important for us. So although it's a short space of time initially that you're with us, you do get to cram lots of stuff in, and we make sure that it is really worth the time. And lots of our interns do get offered graduate placements for the following year. I'm just going to double check. Can everybody? Can one?
Laura, you're I don't know if I can see your face is gone. It's just buffering.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you fine.
That's good. Thanks, guys. Sorry, I was just making sure I'm still live. So I just wanted to talk through some of the benefits. As I mentioned, it is just a short space of time initially that you're with us, 10 weeks, but you are still entitled to some great benefits. So as Paige mentioned, we work on a flexible and hybrid working arrangement. So if you prefer to come into the office a bit more, or if you prefer to work from home a little bit more, then that's entirely up to you. We're super flexible. And you are entitled to 4 days of holiday, which is based on the full-time equivalent of 25 days, which is what a full-time permanent employee would get with us. We do have competitive salary. All of that is detailed on our website if you do want to check that out afterwards. Contributions to private healthcare, and we do have a 24-hour virtual GP service, which hopefully you wouldn't need, but it is there if you need it. We also offer other perks such as discounted gadget insurance, technology offers, and discounted gym membership as well, which, although it's a short space of time initially, you'd be fully entitled to all of those. I am now going to hand over to my colleague Saffron and hopefully sort out my camera at the same time. So over to you, Saffron.
Thank you. So hello, everyone. I'm Saffron and I'm a 2021 business graduate. I'm actually coming towards the end of my programme, which is 2 years long, and I've completed 4 rotations now in Zurich. So currently I'm working as a business manager in underwriting, and I'm looking after the apprentice underwriters, and that's based in our Chelmsford and Croydon offices. I've also completed a rotation in Glasgow as a claims handler in our personal property lines. I've also been to Manchester as a motor fleet underwriter, but my journey actually started in the customer office team, which is marketing. And I actually began there as an intern in summer of 2020. So I think you all know, in 2020, we obviously had COVID, and there was a bit of panic because I had my place on the internship and I wasn't sure whether it was going to happen or not. Quite a lot of my friends were getting messages from companies saying that I wasn't going to go ahead. But I think this really highlights how Zurich care about interns, is the fact that they made kind of really quick changes and got our program sorted for us. So although it was virtual and yours will be hybrid, I just wanted to highlight how Zurich really do value interns and they want to hear the change that you can bring to the business. So during the internship, I was really thrown into the deep end. And I think, Amy, you've asked about responsibilities that you may have as an intern, and this can really change because you're in different teams, but none of you will be photocopying all the time and making coffee. You're really thrown into the deep end. So getting involved in live projects with your team, presenting to senior leaders, and coming up with ideas to kind of solve business needs. So as Paige mentioned, you do get involved in a intern project, and that's actually where I met Tony and Paula and all the other interns. And one of our projects was looking at the ideas of, obviously COVID had hit, so how would that impact travel insurance? So we came up with a project, we presented that, and it was great to learn from, I was on the business internship, but I got to work with people in IT, I got to work with people in finance, and kind of coming together to solve the business need really helped me to see that I can make a positive change at Zurich and help me want to come back. And I think when I actually did return as a graduate, I had one of the stakeholders from the project say to me, "Oh, you remember when you were an intern and you kind of recommended this as a group? We actually took that change on." So you can really make an impact in just 10 weeks time, in just a 10-week period. Zurich have really supported my personal development. And I think, as was mentioned earlier, you know, I came into the insurance industry. I didn't know anything about insurance. I applied wanting to learn more, but I didn't have any of the basic knowledge of insurance. That's definitely changed as 2 years has gone on, but you don't need to worry about this. I think it's an industry which is actually really exciting. It's growing, and there's so much going on, so many opportunities that every single day you learn something new. So everyone at Zurich is really welcoming, and that was one of the reasons I wanted to stay, because I feel you can reach out to anyone on the 10 weeks of your program. It doesn't need to be in your team, just anyone in the business. It doesn't matter how senior they are, but really anyone, even now, 2 years down the line, I can kind of message someone and I know they'll be happy to help. So that really helped me want to come back as a graduate, and I feel really lucky to have had the chance to do that. I think it's also really important to highlight to you all kind of the other opportunities that you get from outside your day-to-day role. So as Paige also mentioned, we have ERGs, which is our employee resource groups. And I've been really lucky to be involved in quite a few of those. So this summer, I was able to go and represent Zurich at Birmingham Pride in the parade. I've also climbed the O2 as part of Zurich Community Trust, and that's our kind of charity branch at Zurich, and you'll definitely learn more about that if you came to us as interns. And I'm also currently a regional voice lead for Next, which is a kind of global initiative to get the next generation's voice kind of heightened in the industry and within Zurich. And this has opened up international opportunities for me because I'm working with a team of people spread across the globe, so Mexico, Japan, Switzerland. And all of these opportunities came to me because I was on the Zurich internship. And as you can see, my journey has been great for the last 2 years, and it continues to grow and things come my way. When it comes to applying for the internship, I think my biggest thing would be just be yourself, be honest in the application process. You know, don't try and manipulate, or not saying you're going to, but like say questions because you think Zurich wants to hear it. Go with what you think, because this process isn't just kind of Zurich finding out whether you'd fit with us, but you should also try and find out where you fit in with Zurich. And that's just important. So I will now pass over to Tony to tell you a bit more.
Thank you, Saffron. So hi, everyone. My name's Tony. I'm in my second year of the Zurich Finance Grad Scheme. I joined in September 2022. So this September, I moved on to the UK Life Reporting team, currently based in Swindon, and have been for the last year or so. Now, prior to this, I was within the Planning and Performance Reporting team. And just a little bit of background as to what I was involved in within the last 12 months. My role was to help support with the monthly and quarterly close process. And part of that involved the submission of UK results to Zurich Group in Switzerland, because we are part of the Zurich Group, and as well as providing any accompanying commentary to illustrate the story of how the UK is performing as a whole. And on top of that, I was also involved in the creating of the monthly and weekly market insight reports that fed into senior members of the UK exec team. And on top of that, I also helped with the planning and performance reporting tips, so the planning process, which I've been involved in for the last few weeks before I moved in. Now, similar to Saffron, my journey with Zurich started off on the intern program, but different to Saffron was the fact that I did a year-long internship as opposed to the 10 weeks. And that was because of how the relationship that Zurich has with Bath Uni, so that's the uni I went to. And within my year-long placement, I spent the first 6 weeks within the financial accounting and reporting team, and then I spent the last 6 months within the expenses team. And just to echo what Saffron said, as an intern, you are involved in actually real-life business cases. So I remember one of the projects that I undertook as an intern was to analyze our print and post as a business. So how much are we spending within printing and posting? How can we change it to minimize the cost and be more eco-friendly? So as an intern, you will get involved in the day-to-day process and real-life business cases, and they can have a real impact on the work you do will have a real impact on the company. Now, after the end of my internship program, I was offered a place on the grad scheme. And for me, when the offer came about, it was a no-brainer that I just had to come back. And the main reason, I think, was to why I came back, which for me, I think it's one of the most important, if not the most important. It's the people. So I think the people make Zurich what it is. So I remember when I began my role, I was afraid of asking questions, but I was pleasantly surprised as to how supportive everyone is, not just people in my level, but also senior managers, how they were just willing to take time off their busy diaries just to sit down with you, explain things to you. So not just how you do it, but why you do it as well, and how you kind of fit into the whole bigger picture. And for me, that just created an environment where I felt like I could thrive in. And it was a key reason as to why I came back. Now, another reason as to why I decided to come back was the fact that Zurich gives its finance grads the opportunity to undertake a professional accounting qualification. So I think right now it's either the ACC and CIMA. And being an accounting and finance student, I always knew that I wanted to undertake a professional qualification. So when I had that Zurich gives their grads the opportunity to do so without having to work the crazy long hours, which audit people do. So I just knew that I had to come back to Zurich. And they've been incredibly supportive so far. So they pay for all your learning materials, they give you time off to go to lessons, and on top of that, they also provide you with a development manager. So they are responsible for supporting you through your whole qualification. So if you had any questions, any issues, you just reach out to them. So just a team of support network available to you, not just as a grad, but also as an intern. So I remember as an intern, I had a buddy throughout my time as an intern. So, just someone who I could just go out, reach them, ask questions on a day-to-day basis, whether that's work related or just outside work as well. And I think the final reason as to why I decided to come back was there's tremendous opportunities to succeed within Zurich. So our CEO, Tim Bailey, he started off his career as a finance grad within Zurich, and he's climbed his way to the top, and he's now our UK CEO. And it's not just him. Various members of the exec started off their career as Zurich grads and interns, and I think it just goes to show that there's a lot of tremendous opportunities available to people within Zurich to succeed. And I think on top of that, it's a global company with a global reputation, tremendous amount of benefits, which it's always a bonus. But yeah, I think from there I'll pass on to Paula just to talk to you about her experience.
Yeah, thanks, Tony. Right. So a little bit about, just a disclaimer, I've got notes on the screen so that I don't forget to say anything. But I'll start off with who I am. So my name's Paula. I studied computer science and management at the University of St. Andrews. And in Scotland, it's a 4-year program. And on my 3rd year, I came to Zurich to do an internship in change and tech. So like Saf and Tony, it was during COVID, so it was remote, and I actually did the internship from Scotland, even though my base office was in Swindon. But it worked out fine. We made it work, and I was given several different things to work on. It wasn't just one thing that we focused on throughout the 10 weeks, at least in my case. So one of the 3 things that I worked on was the intern project, which Saf and Tony already talked a little bit about. In our case, it was figuring out a recommendation for what to do with Zurich's travel insurance products, because during the pandemic, obviously, travel was, really disrupted, and a lot of people were making claims, and not every insurer was equipped. So we were given the task to think about how we could change the product to help people be prepared for that kind of situation in the future. And like Saf said, a lot of our suggestions got taken on board, so that was pretty exciting. The change in tech role that I was given during the internship was to be a business analyst on a project called Lightstream 2. And the whole idea, also kind of related to COVID, was that a lot of people, especially in claims, had to pick up the phone to talk to customers with hard phones. And part of this project was rolling out the hard phones and replacing them with soft phones. So just purely software on your computer so that you could use a headset and work from home a lot more easily instead of relying on going into the office to do your job. So that was quite fun. It was a very varied role. It was different stuff like looking at the hardware that we were ordering, understanding what people needed from the software, and looking at the floor plans for the offices to see what equipment we were going to fit into the meeting rooms. So it was a ton of fun for me. I personally liked it. And then I also did a side project, which was a bit more sustainability related, which is something I was personally interested in and still am. It centered around looking at a business process that existed within the company that involved a lot of paperwork and helping them digitalize that process so that they didn't have to be printing out papers, moving it between people, especially while working remote. It was quite difficult. So we built a digital repository and helped them set up different flows to make sure that paperwork, or in that case, documents online, didn't get lost. So that was also fun for me. And it was a lot based on my own initiative. People would ask me, can you help with this? Or I would ask, can I help out with that? And they'd say yes, and I'd get started. After the 10-week internship, I was offered a role in the grad scheme, which I took, hence why I'm here. I'm now 2 years in, and I commute into Swindon, which is still my base office, from Bristol, and it's less than a 40-minute ride on the train. So I just go in when my team is in or when I feel like it. Honestly, I don't really find it to be much of a hassle. I think one of the things we were suggested to talk about on here is some tips for people applying. So my tips obviously apply only to the change and tech scheme, which might be slightly different to the other schemes, but I've picked out 3 things that I can recommend. The first one is probably understanding what the role really is. And this is a really big one because it is a little bit of a unique internship in that it's about change management. So it's not really coding like a lot of people think. It is specifically around change management and technology. You can look that up. It's not the only company that has this kind of department, but I found it really interesting. I think it helped me in my application that I'd taken a class in university about change management. So I was particularly interested in that, and I knew what kind of role that would entail. My second tip is to know what you want. Because if you choose to apply and you do make it to the interview, I personally consider it really important to remember that it's a two-way thing. You're trying to see if Zurich is a good fit for you just as much as Zurich is trying to see if you're a good fit for the company. So keep in mind what you want from us. Do you want particular hard skills, soft skills, experiences, interactions? Do you have any interest that you want to align with a company? That kind of thing will really help out ourselves as the interviewers. I do interview sometimes, and candidates as well understand whether you are a good fit for the company. And my third tip is to be curious and show initiative. That's also a really big one. In my experience, a big portion of the internship was kind of what I made of it. It was me volunteering to do things or me being taken up on things that I wanted to do. And Zurich will definitely look for people who can make the most out of the opportunity. You could just end up being an intern that does the stuff that's assigned to you really well and just be a perfectionist, or you could branch out and do all kinds of different things. There's nothing stopping interns from joining employee resource groups like diversity groups, sustainability groups, stuff like that. So there's a lot of opportunities if you do join. One final thing is I did see a question in the chat around culture and work-life balance in Zurich. And again, I can only really speak for IT because Zurich is quite a large company. We're spread out throughout different offices, but I've been working with IT for almost 2 years now, and I can confidently say I'm pretty happy with both. I think the biggest thing about culture people will say is that everyone's really nice. I had so many stupid questions coming in, and people are always really willing to help me out. I still have stupid questions. It's very rare to have somebody who will get annoyed at you for trying to understand something, and generally there's a good ambiance, so it's a nice place to work. The teams are really nice. As an example, when I started my internship and also my grad scheme, I still really struggled to write formal emails in English. I can do it in Spanish, which is my first language, but I just was not used to the lingo, like best regards or keen to let you know that, all that kind of stuff. And so my manager at the time would sit down with me, read my emails, and help me understand what sounded right, what didn't sound right, so that eventually I gained the confidence to just send emails off on my own. Now I type them up super quickly. It takes me like 2 minutes to write a long email, but at the beginning it would be like a 15-minute exercise sometimes. I've always found that my managers want what's best for me, and that's really important as well. Sometimes even above what's best for my project. So if I'd gotten everything I wanted out of a role, but the project still needed me going forward, my manager would prioritize my needs above the projects and then put me where I needed to be, which is super important within the short time of an internship, which is just 10 weeks. So you get to do what's best for you. And I'm quite satisfied with the work-life balance as well. I rarely work outside of hours, and when I do, it's usually on my own initiative because I want to finish something on time or because I want to go to the doctor's appointment the next day. So I'll just finish what I need to do today. So that's a little bit of an overview. Sorry if I spoke really quickly, but I think I'm handing back to Laura now to talk about the application process.
Yes, thank you. And my camera has officially died on me, guys. So but I promise I'm real. You've seen me at the beginning, so that's the main thing. And as long as you can hear me, which I assume you can, we'll carry on. So thank you to Saffron, Tony, and Paula. As early careers advisor, it makes me super happy to know that our sort of grads, interns, and apprentices are all doing really well, really branching out. And I particularly like Paula's hints and tips for applying, which brings us nicely onto our application process. So I'm going to run you through a high-level overview of kind of our application process. Because of the sheer volume of applicants we do get in, there is a few steps to the process, which I'm sure you will see with most employers. So just a few things to highlight from our perspective. I've got some sort of images of what you can expect to see during the assessment process, run you through some hints and tips, and then we'll move on to a Q&A. I can see some questions in the chat, which we can go through towards the end of the session. So as I mentioned at the beginning, we are open for 2024 now. We opened on the 11th of September. Applications are pouring through, which is amazing for us to see. And we do close on the 5th of November. So the first step of the application is just the initial basic eligibility check. So that will be sort of the right to work check and the grades, things like that. So the standard eligibility for whatever opportunity it is that you're applying for, that is the very first step there. Provided that you meet all of those standard eligibility checks, those are all listed on our website, guys. They are pretty consistent throughout, but there might be some nuances. And just to call out, our summer intern program is designed for those in their penultimate year of graduating. So if you are in sort of your first year, unfortunately, you wouldn't be able to apply for 2024. So just wanted to call that out. I think that's quite important there. So as long as you meet those standard eligibility checks, you will then go on to the next stage, which is the online assessment. I have got an image of what you can expect to see, which I will show you in a moment. This is called Captivate. We worked with a third-party provider called Capfinity, who worked closely with us. It was a huge project to design an assessment which measures the core strengths that are important to us here at Zurich. So things like growth, time optimization, drive, collaboration, adaptability. So these are the things that are really important to us at Zurich, and we have built our full assessment process around that. The assessment process in the first stages is an online strengths-based assessment. So you will be presented with a number of scenarios. It is designed sort of around the insurance industry or the Zurich as a company, so it won't be totally random. You will be presented with a scenario, and it's purely it's very simple drag and drop exercise, and it's how you would most likely deal with the situation versus how you would least likely to deal with the situation. And then it does lots of clever calculations in the background. And that is really assessing your strengths as a person, as an individual, your fit for the company and things like that. So there is a strengths-based element as well as a cognitive element. So regardless of what opportunity it is that you're going for, there is a numerical element to the test. And essentially it combines the strengths and cognitive elements to give an overall score. You will get a feedback report from that assessment, regardless of whether you make it to the next stage or not, which is actually really useful. It just highlights sort of your key strengths, but also highlights some areas of development as well. So that's something that you can keep for your own records, and I always find those super useful. If you do hit the benchmark criteria for the online assessment phase, you then go on to the next phase, which is the video assessment, which is a job simulation format. Again, it's something that you'll probably see across lots of employers if you are sort of applying for a few different opportunities with different employers. Job simulation is very common. So we'll come on to some hints and tips in a minute, but it is very much you speaking to a camera, which sometimes feels a little bit alien. So we always say get comfortable with that. So very similar to the online assessment, but it is more it's more personable. So you get to kind of put your own spin. You get to really show yourself as an individual. And we do manually review those videos here within my team and within the wider recruitment team as well. So you'll be presented with a number of questions as scenarios on how you'd approach a situation, and you simply video your answer essentially. And then the third and final phase, if you get to that sort of stage, is the is the final interview, which is typically virtual, or we now are moving a bit more back to face-to-face in the sort of post-COVID world, which is quite exciting. So some business streams do prefer face-to-face interviews, but equally we are trying to be flexible and things like that. So virtual is still pretty common. So again, just get used to sort of video interviews because they are sort of pretty common as well. So if I move on to what you can expect to see with our online process, it just gives you a bit of an oversight into kind of how it's broken down. The images aren't too clear here, but essentially it's broken down into sections. Again, the things that are really important to us at Zurich, our people, our planet, our customers, about you, and working with numbers. So behind each of those tiles, also important to highlight that this is not timed. So it's untimed. You can take as long as you want. If you meet that initial criteria, you will get the link to this straight away. You don't have to do it straight away, but obviously it's quite nice to get these things over and done with. And there is a progress bar at the top, so you can obviously dip in and out of that. We do recommend around 45 minutes. It is untimed, but that's pretty much roughly how long it would take you. So behind each of those tiles is a series of scenarios, as I've mentioned. And again, similar with the video assessment stage, where it will talk you through more specifically how to set the video up, just to make sure you're, in a room with no distractions, to make sure your sound and your video quality is as it should be, which is ironic because my camera is currently not working. So apologies again for that. So again, that's very similar to the online assessment, but there is that video element to that. So I know Paula spoke through some great top tips. She's probably done a better job than I could because she has been through the process and obviously was very successful in doing so, as was Saffron and Tony. So for me, you will see on there quite a few different top tips here, but for me, I would say do your research, because it's a bit of a bugbear of mine where people turn up to an interview or the video assessment stage, actually, I would say, or even before you apply, do your research as to who we are as a company, what we do, our culture, our ethics, our products, everything about Zurich. Kind of just know the basics. It's all there on our website for you. It's at the tip of your fingers. So make sure you just do your research. It really does go a long way, and it really does show those people that haven't done any research, it doesn't land particularly well. So I would say research for me is key. Be authentic. I know it's one that Paula called out, but absolutely be yourself. A massive part of the Zurich culture is everybody has a voice. Everybody can be themselves. So that really should reflect from sort of the interview and application stage. So be authentic. Don't try and kind of win your way or lie your way through the process, because it won't end very well for anybody. Just be yourself. And if you're right for the role, then you will absolutely be successful in securing that. And again, show your personality. I think those two kind of go hand in hand, particularly, you know, from that video assessment stage. That is the first time we will see you and hear you and feel your passion for why you want to come and work for us. So I would say, get comfortable speaking in front of a camera. It does not feel particularly natural. Practice, you know, it might feel silly the first couple of times, but ultimately that is how you're going to get your confidence. Make use of the practice test. So as I said, sort of with Capfinity here, you will have support with the video setup just to make sure everything is clear. And once we get to review those interviews, we can see you properly, we can hear you properly, and everything's clear, and we don't have to ask you to sort of retake anything, because nobody wants to do that. And I would say make your motivations clear is super important as well. So make it clear why you want to work for Zurich as a company. Why have you gone for the particular business area, the opportunity that you've applied for? Make that clear. You know, sell yourself. It's your chance to kind of highlight what you could bring to the company and what your strengths are in particular. So those would be my top tips. There's lots of support on our website, as I say. So feel free to go and take a look at the website. As I said, we're open until the 5th of November, so plenty of time. Now, I have largely covered this, but just a few final things to call out. Very important, you can only apply for one of our intern programs. So make sure you take a look properly at the ads. You know, if it's very clear what you want to apply for, then absolutely just go for that one. But if you're sort of on the fence, or you're not particularly sure, take a look at all of our opportunities, go through the advert in detail, take a look at the locations, because whilst we are flexible and cross location, some business areas only operate from, you know, a couple of different locations. So check out those before you apply, because as I said, you can only apply for one. If you try and apply for more than one of my team will just be giving you a call and ask which one you want to go for. It really is that strict, just because of the volumes that we see, and to allow a fair process for everybody. And I think that's pretty much it. I've covered off the online application stage, online assessment, the job simulation and video interview, and that final assessment, which is the interview stage. And again, just to highlight, 11th of September, 5th of November is when we close. So still plenty of time to go and take a look at the opportunities that we've got. And hopefully we'll see some applications coming through from some of you. And just a very quick plug on our social. So do keep an eye, particularly on Facebook, LinkedIn. We do a lot of activity when we are sort of in campaign. So when we are hosting things like this, so any webinars that we're involved in, you know, we'll be doing reminders and videos and lots of sort of quotes and things from our current employees and our current grads. And things like that. So do keep an eye on our socials. And again, that QR code will take you directly to the intern opportunities on our website. And last but not least, but probably my favorite, our graduates run a TikTok page, which is Life of a Grad. It's very cool, far cooler than I am. So we love letting them do their thing with that. It's a really good insight into Zurich. Lots of kind of day in the life of. You get to see some of our really cool office spaces, lots of kind of the social and fun events that we do sort of inside and outside of work as well. So I would definitely encourage you to give that a follow. Our apprentices run a page as well, but definitely our grads are just kind of really running with it and doing some really cool stuff at the moment. So I would definitely recommend, if you're a TikToker, which I'm sure lots of you are, give them a follow and take a look at kind of what life is really like at Zurich. It's a really good insight from from sort of the guys themselves. And I think that is it from me. So we're ready for Q&A. So if all of my lovely colleagues can pop their cameras on. And
I'll just go in through them, shall we?
Yeah, let's and we'll kind of divvy them out. We're all sort of here to try and answer the question. So let's go for it and see what we've got.
Perfect. So I'll start off with Will T says, can you provide insights into the company culture and work-life balance at Zurich?
That's a really good question. I think any of us can answer that, but I know Paula covered that off quite well. But I think from my perspective, so I've been at Zurich for 13 years. So I've been around for a long time. And so clearly it's a great place to work because I can't see myself going anywhere anytime soon. And I think from my perspective, the culture is very much, it's friendly, it's approachable. You will always have support regardless of what grade you are, regardless of how senior the person is that you're asking a question to. We've got such a broad kind of pool of employees. We got, different ages, different genders, different ethnicities. It's a very broad culture at Zurich. So I think for me, that's what it's all about. And I think everybody can be themselves. It's very much kind of, you feel like you can be yourself. I'm hoping everybody on the call with me today can agree that, it's a safe space to work and be yourself and have a voice, which I think is really important. So for me, I think culturally that is, as I said when I was presenting, it's all around being able to be yourself. And I think that is reflected in our culture across the whole business, across the UK and, across the globe, really.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. And I think on the work-life balance side of things, again, Paula covered this off pretty well. But, we have that flexibility, we have that hybrid working here at Zurich. And, it does enable you to balance your interests outside of work with your interests inside of work and your day-to-day life. And I think actually that's part of the culture as well at Zurich. You're very much encouraged to, get involved in many different opportunities at work. But I would say also outside of work as well. My colleagues do take an interest in what I've been getting up to. And, I went on a big trip earlier in the year and things like that. And everybody was so excited to hear about that. And it was really encouraged that I took a few weeks off and went and did something for me. So, yeah, the work-life balance and the culture, is just really great. It's very friendly. It's very much there for you. And I think you really see that in the culture and the feel and the work-life balance is that the employee well-being as well is very important to Zurich. And I think we all live and breathe that. I think all of us on the call live and breathe that and would encourage each other to go and take those opportunities. And the same with Paula, and that if I often work within my normal working hours, and occasionally if I may work a little bit later, but that's because it's taking the initiative. I'm taking that initiative because I want to finish a piece of work. It's not necessarily mandated that I have to and things like that. So yeah, I think just echoing everything else that everybody else has said, really.
Yeah, pretty good. Perfect. For there's another one, Emil, I believe that's how you pronounce the name. Sorry if I'm butchering that. Hi everyone. How does Zurich stay innovative and adapt to changing trends in the insurance sector? And what do you think will be the biggest change in the industry over the next few years? Very good question there.
Oh, I think any of us could have a bit of a dibs on that as well. I'm wondering, I think, not to delegate, I think, Paula, this might be a good one for you.
I mean, I've definitely got examples within the IT space. I just didn't know if people would be very interested because it is more around tech than it is around insurance. But in the insurance tech space, I feel like there's two kind of big categories. There's the very large insurers that date back to, several decades, sometimes over 100 years, such as Zurich. And then there's newer insurtech companies that are potentially smaller, newer, a lot faster, kind of niftier. And the IT landscape for those two are built really differently. And obviously they compete against each other. So there's been a lot of big changes in our sector recently. One of the ones that I've been keeping an eye on because it's involved in my project and it's something I'm interested in is kind of the use of APIs. So because our systems sometimes date back several decades because that's when they were built, They are very tightly coupled with each other. They're hard to make changes to. So what we've been doing is kind of replacing them and changing the integrations to be through API so that it's quick to replace, it's flexible, it's reusable. And it's a big endeavor because you're working with, mainframe systems. And it takes a lot of forethought, design, understanding of what your needs will be in the future, but it also makes it super interesting to work with.
Yeah, and I think generally from an insurance perspective, like probably the majority of insurance companies, particularly big global ones, there is a real shift on our focus on sustainability. And obviously we are dealing with cost of living crisis. So it's things like that. So it's remaining competitive for our customers, but also we are a business. We are there to be profitable at the end of the day, but it's trying to find that balance. And I think with the ever changing kind of the cost of living and how we can be there to support our customers throughout the difficult times. But then the sustainability piece is huge for us at Zurich. We are working as an employer, but also on our actual products as well, how we can be more sustainable and kind of move with the times in that sense. And I also think as well for as a company, there is a lot more focus on automation, robotics, AI, all of that kind of stuff, which is obviously rapidly moving inside and outside of the market. So we're just really trying to keep up with that kind of stuff and just make sure that we're kind of, where we need to be in terms of progressing that, particularly with technology and things like that. So yeah, lots going on and lots for us to keep up with, but we do it pretty well, I think.
Yeah, and just to add on top of that, from a finance perspective, so there's a lot of regulation changes happening in finance. So I think this year we saw the implementation of the new accounting standards, so the IFRS 17, and the implementation of the Brexit for UK leaving the EU. And I think part of that within finance, there's been a new whole department, so the strategic finance department. And part of the role is to focus on the transformation. So looking at how we can transform our processes, our systems, to comply with all the regulations changing, but also to make sure we are resilient to anticipate any future changes that may come and to ensure that we are in a good space to adapt for the future needs.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. Great answer from everyone there. Amy says, what percentage of interns are offered a graduate role?
That was on one of the slides, actually. It's a really good question. But from our last year's cohort, 82% of our interns were offered graduate placements, which is huge and not too far off 100%. So it's amazing to see. I think although the interns spend 10 weeks with us, they get a lot from that, and obviously we see the potential in people as well during that time. So literally at the end of that 10 weeks, you will have a bit of a sort of meeting, I suppose, with the manager and things like that, and essentially you are offered a place there. And then if it has gone obviously particularly well, so it's a massive success rate from intern to graduate conversion, and one that we're hugely proud of. So yeah.
Perfect. That's a very good number, 82.
Yeah.
Hopefully more next year.
Yeah.
Hassan says, are there any opportunities for interns to engage with Zurich's global network and collaborate with colleagues from different countries?
So I think that depends. I guess the answer really would be probably no, but depending on the teams that you work in, you may find that actually they are at that time dealing with some of our colleagues in our global network, and you may find that you'll be working with colleagues in other countries, but I would say it's very role specific and team specific, depending on kind of which team that you're put in. You may get the opportunity to do that, but it's not something that we kind of guarantee or anything like that. I know earlier this year when we did have our current summer interns with us, there was a bit of a sort of a network going around with some of our global interns as well. They did pull a call together from our sort of global headquarters that kind of organised their programs as well. that might be something they continue going for, but generally you'll kind of be in the UK, working within the UK teams, and you may get an opportunity or get to experience some work with our teams in other countries and our networks, but it's going to be very dependent on the role and the scheme and the team that you're in, really, so it can't be guaranteed.
And I think it does happen. I think from our perspective with the interns, because it is that short space of time and there's obviously a lot that we need to cram in, it's a little bit more limited in that sense. But certainly if you were to convert onto the graduate scheme or into a more permanent role, whether that be graduate or not, there's lots of opportunities to work with our global colleagues. So I think most areas of the business will have some kind of dealing, particularly with sort of Switzerland, which is obviously our home office, but we are really sort of dotted around the globe. So as Paige said, it's not something we can guarantee, but there's certainly lots of opportunity once you are, I guess, in a more of a permanent basis to sort of network. It's very easy to network with colleagues across the pond and things like that. So if it's something that interests you, that's something you can obviously express once you're with us, and that's kind of the career path or the development that you're willing to take.
Perfect. Matt is a good question. How do you use AI in the insurance industry?
I can probably take that one. There's been a big surge in interest in AI recently. I think at Zurich, they are making a big effort to tackle that at a global level, not just at the Zurich UK level. And we recently introduced kind of a Zurich version of ChatGPT so that people can just use it in their daily jobs. It functions just like ChatGPT, but it's hosted by ourselves so that we don't accidentally put in data that shouldn't be made public into a public service. We also use it a lot in the data team. I'm not part of the data team, but I know that, for example, they've built an address matching intelligence service so that within our systems, sometimes there'll be slightly different records, and they use AI to match those up and have a better understanding of our own data. So the data warehouse definitely benefits from AI. I guess it will depend whether you consider robotics AI, but we do also use robotics to help automate processes and take the load off of people that would otherwise have to do a lot of kind of repetitive, boring manual work. So it's kind of peppered all throughout our IT estate. It's not just there in one form, and we are trying to make use of it. I mean, there's a lot of interest, and it's definitely showing up on calls.
You're right. It does. It is showing. Yes. Now we are just about to run out of time, but I will say question for everyone here, so we'll go through everyone quickly. What advice do you have for someone who wants to join Zurich?
I would just say, I'll kick off, shall I? I would say just be yourself. Bring your authentic self to work. That is absolutely okay. We want everybody to bring their absolute authentic self. And I think that will show in your applications and things like that when you're applying for roles at Zurich. Just be yourself, and that will come through.
Perfect.
I'll go next. I would say be passionate, be excited, be energetic, particularly through, from that point of video assessment when we can first, see you and really engage with you. I would just say that is what we're really looking for, people that are passionate about coming to work for us.
I just echo what Paige said earlier on. Just do your research. I think it's worth, it covers the basics, but, just knowing what we are as a company goes a long way. Knowing what kind of projects we are involved, what kind of financial information on the news going on with us, just information is available on the internet, very easily accessible. So just do a little bit of research and to help you with your application process beforehand.
Perfect.
I'll go. I was going to say, just make the most of all the opportunities that come your way. 10 weeks goes by so quick when you're actually in the team. So just say yes to everything and experience everything that you can while you're with us would be my advice.
Amazing.
I kind of covered that off earlier, but I will reemphasize, know what you want and know what you're applying for. I think that's a really big one that sometimes people don't have time to consider, but can make a big difference in the interview.
Perfect. Thank you very much, everyone. And remember, it is recorded, so it'll be up on our YouTube and website in the next coming days. So thank you to everyone for taking us through your experiences, talking about Zurich, and of course, just answering people's questions. So without further ado, I will see you all in the next one.
Sorry, just to add, if there were questions, there probably might have been some questions we didn't get round to. Please just drop an email if you do have any burning questions. But like I said, lots of info on our website, so do take a look if there's anything we didn't get round to. And thanks everyone for joining.
Perfect. I'll also say to check out our YouTube as well. We did a lovely piece with Zurich.
Oh yeah,
in August,
great.
Of course.
Yeah.
And we're just about to reach 50,000 subscribers, so like and subscribe.
Awesome.
Thank you very much.
Thanks everyone. Bye.
Cheers. Bye bye.
Bye bye.